Well, I guess you know the sky hasn't fallen yet, but I am starting to feel some flakes here. Today's a big day for students throughout this United States, USA, for the walkout. Is it in protest or is it to draw attention? Whichever, however. It is maybe one of the first times, ladies and gentlemen, that the actual victims of a school terrorist attack is responding outside of tears and bleeding and being killed. I think that's what speaks volumes about what's happening or what happened a month ago there in Parkland. The students almost immediately indicated to adults that this is not normal behavior and that, yes, there can be something done. Pure and simple. Now, was there something that will eliminate completely the possibility that a student will shoot a bunch of kids? No. But just because you can't do everything doesn't mean you don't do something. Something simple. And that's what this protest is all about here, folks. And we're going to get to it, knee-deep in it. But first, like I said before, I have grave concerns about where my country's going. When I ask someone whether or not they support the president, which is the president of the country, and someone said the president and the country, I said to myself, that's where we went wrong. That's where Russia went wrong. That's where Czechoslovakia went wrong. That's where Zimbabwe went wrong. And there's some signals to this, folks. Yesterday, Rex Tillerson was fired by way of tweet. One of my callers said, tweet? What are you listening to, fake news? Well, let me just tell you, everything that rolls off and dribbles off Donald John's mouth is fake. And what he does is he accuses his adversaries of being fake. In other words, whenever you want to know what really he is doing, just listen to what he accuses his adversary of doing. That's what he's doing. And that's a technique, ladies and gentlemen, that is not unusual. I mean, really and truthfully, it was used by Adolf, it was used by Machiavelli, it was used by King of England. You know, every dictator has utilized this. When you seek to do something, steal something, then you accuse someone else of stealing, and of course, needless to say, the focal point is on them. But what you're doing is you're stealing. What happens, folks? I mean, kids do this. You know, they do it all the time. However, Rex Tillerson, in his farewell speech, should I say, to the State Department, brought up something that Comey has brought up. Every person who's been fired by Donald John has brought this up. Every person. Well, not everyone. The Mooch didn't bring it up. Because the Mooch knew he was only in there, 10 days? Something like that. He wasn't fired as eloquently as Comey and Rex Tillerson. I tell you, he was seething, bro.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't give his speech before I went off the air, but I listened to this guy, and let me just tell you something. What I heard was a former CEO of a petroleum company who had probably never been fired in his life.
Seventh biggest corporation in the world. No, we ran the thing for most of the time.
I'm going to tell you, he was PO'd because the effing Moron fired him, and fired him in such a undignified fashion. You tweet it and then make a phone call? I don't doubt there was some cussing on that phone.
Oh, well, yeah.
That phone was really a red phone.
Yeah. From Wichita Falls, Texas, they cuss over there.
Especially with a guy who is a Texan and has the code of conduct. It's just not the way you treat people. That comes back on you. Donald John, comes back on you. It's not the way you do things. Especially not a man like Tillerson or Rip Daniels or Rowe or anybody else who has any kind of pinatas. You can't pay everybody off. Everyone doesn't have a price, Donald John, and that's something he doesn't know. That's something he can't quite reason with. Let me just tell you what's going to happen, and I see his downfall. And I see it. There's going to be one of the individuals who's just going to put country over him. They're going to spill the beans first and foremost, and they can't be bought. I'm just telling you. Their dignity is far greater than any kind of loyalty they may have to him. And their loyalty to this country is far greater than their loyalty to him. I'm telling you, more and more Americans are getting this. But Tillerson said something, and I'm going to play it for you because it's the same verbiage that you heard from Comey to the career employees of the United States government, and for those individuals who are even appointees. And it is the ultimate commitment that anyone who works for the United States, or particularly serves office, or the United States military, must remember. Now listen to what he tells them.
To my foreign service officers and civil service colleagues, we all took the same oath of office.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're a career, employee, or political appointee, we are all bound by that common commitment to support and defend the Constitution, to bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
Stop it right there. He never once mentioned Donald John. He never once thanked Donald John for hiring him. Now, do you have the Comey letter? If not, get it real quick. What he's saying here is that the Constitution is greater than the United States president, and don't fall for that loyalty pledge that Donald John is expecting you to give him. He's seething with contempt here, and he knows something. There's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt that he knows of the charade that Donald John is doing, particularly with, say one thing and do another. This is for the newspapers and the TV, but this is what we're really going to do over here. Everything's short of doing something. We just got to look like we are. It's all about theater. But by him saying that, he is saying to those who are working for the State Department, look, your oath is to the country. It is not to him. And you need to be honest. Don't try to protect this nut job that we have in the White House right now. No. You need to do what you do. Stay on the job. Stay on the job. And there are those who are doing that. Exactly that. In hopes of saving this country of mine. I guarantee you. Comey said something similar. You have it?
I do. Toward the end of his letter, he wrote to his colleagues, as Tillerson was just speaking to his own, it is very hard to leave a group of people who are committed only to doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
My hope is that you will continue to live our values and the mission of protecting the American people and upholding the Constitution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Constitution keeps going back to that because that's the law of the land. And I'm going to tell you, in my view, what both Comey and what Tillerson is saying is that the Constitution's in jeopardy, that someone's breaking that sacred law. I don't know how, I don't know why, but when you hear someone in this position saying that, they're saying to you, you know what? We've got we've got the law of the land here that is far greater than your boss. This is not a company. This is a country. He is not the CEO. He is the president. Continue.
Faithfully discharge the duties of our office. As a State Department, we are bound together by that oath. We remain steadfast here in Washington and at posts across the world, many of whom are in danger-pay situations without their families. The world needs selfless leaders like these.
All right, stop it right there. That's the slightest I've ever heard one.
Not like that.
The world needs selfless leaders like these.
Like these.
Like these. never once mentioned his former boss. He's still on the paycheck until March 31st. He never was given an explanation as to why he was fired, with the exception of what Donald John said on his way to Marine One, getting ready to fly off to California. How tacky is this? You have not heard the last from Tillerson, I can tell you that right now. You know, folks, most of the predictions I've had about this have rang true. Some of you hate it. And it's not about some kind of looking in a crystal ball. This is very predictable, Ro.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what is happening right now. Many of the greatest minds that could actually help Donald John are now, right now, saying they don't want to work in the White House. Contrary to what, see, when he says things like that, oh, we got people lined up who want to work in the White House, that's just a lie. Every time he parts his gums and he says something and projects something, trust me on this, it's quite the contrary. I guarantee you he has asked several. Nobody wants to get into that. No employee wants to get into an environment that is hostile. No employee. Trust me. Employees want to get in and do their job and be appreciated. They don't want to have someone turning around, especially their boss, stabbing them in the back. They don't want that. They don't want that. They don't want someone going, okay, I just can't look. I'm looking for a reason to fire you. They don't want to be a yes man. Except for those individuals who don't know how to do their job. These are the folks who always hang around and talk about golf, tell jokes, make a little funny. They feel that they can ease up on their boss by doing it. Some bosses go for that. They just keep someone around as a, what do they call the jester, the court jester. Everyone has one of those on the job. He don't know what the hell he's doing, but the boss can pick on him, call him all kinds of names, kick him in the behind, that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And he accepts the fact that he's getting paid to be the jester. Go out and be a caddy on the golf course. Go to the deer camp. You don't know what the hell he's doing, but he is a spy. I mean, he is the kind of guy that'll mix and mingle with the underling employees and come back and whisper in the ear of the boss. Oh yeah. There are some bosses who want that jester. Yeah. It's just, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm your man. I'm your man. That's what Donald John wants. Yes, jockeys. And I pity Pompeo. I wonder whether or not, though, Pompeo is just simply going along. For a guy who's been in Congress, and as well as that now with the CIA, I want to believe that he is saying to himself, I need to get close to this guy, because country is more important, and I need to play along. I just need to play along. Just like the Russians infiltrated Donald John's administration, there are some good God-fearing Americans who are doing the same. Yeah, let me just kind of stay close. Yeah, I'll go along, okay. And someone needs to. Someone really needs to. And then there's this. Tillerson actually gives the impression, I think you picked this up, bro. That just maybe, if he were not there, there would be others who would leave. Maybe there are some folks he has not fulfilled all the State Department jobs, but maybe some of the folks he's hired. Maybe they'll disappear. Maybe even some of the career employees. And by the way, you have those, thank God. When I talk about those folks who actually get things done in government, the career employees is who I'm talking about. And by the way, just want to make sure you understand the deep state. The so-called deep state is what moved into the White House. Actually, what you have is the cesspool has been sent there to drain the swamp. That's a contradiction. I'll get to that in a minute. But what he's talking about here is that I think he had some thought that maybe because he was fired in such a very undignified way, that maybe there would be an exodus of people he hired.
I just think he said this for a reason.
I'm encouraging my policy planning team and undersecretaries and assistant secretaries, those confirmed, as well as those in acting positions, to remain at their post and continue our mission at the State Department and working with the interagency process.
So by that, you think he was, that they actually got some mention that they were going to leave the post?
I think he had some sort of idea. Maybe some folks who share his perception of the effing moron might have a sort of mass exodus to leave the State Department in disarray.
Let me tell you this, folks. I guess many of you have been convinced by Russian limb-bubble radio or whoever, oxy-conservatives. I think some of you have been convinced that government as we know it is not efficient as we who are in the private sector. And some can argue that. It is, it isn't. I can tell you. Some agencies in some areas may not be as efficient, but there are many that are extraordinarily efficient. Trust me on that. They are. And when you talk about the government, that it's not a bunch of little govs running around. Those are real people, real Americans who have their children in the same school. These are real folks. You know, the government as if somehow or another there's some aliens, and they're not, folks. These are the people who are running this country, are people who are red-blooded Americans who do take that oath and take it seriously. I think you're right, Ro. I think that he was concerned that these folks were going to leave their posts.
Yeah, and that concern is valid. You heard that maybe possibly echoed in what we just read from Comey. That quote, "My hope is that you will continue to live our values and the mission of protecting the American people."
That's right. My hope. You see, this is what Donald John doesn't understand, and I dare say some CEOs don't grasp. There are people who will settle for less money than be treated undignified. I'm telling you, I did. Now, don't get me wrong. I never left a job without having a job. That's a dumb thing. You don't just throw your hands up and walk off. That's just, just don't do that. I mean, that's just not. It's going to hurt you more than it's going to hurt your company.
Self-defeating.
It is. It's self-defeating. So if by chance you're planning to leave, then you make that preparation and go ahead and start sowing some seeds. Or start building your own business, one way or the other. I chose the latter. But for a guy to be in travel working and then be tweeted, I just fired Tillerson. Secretary of State. Was it 4th, 5th in line of succession? He could be, if something were to happen to other 4, the president, vice president, speaker of the House. That's just, folks, it's just.
Fifth in line.
It's just pathetic. It really is, folks. Another Russian died in London.
Really?
Yeah. Another Russian. Found dead. A great critic of Vladimir Putin. Still don't know whether or not that was foul play. Just checking to see. And then there's this, folks. Vladimir Putin was given an ultimatum by Theresa May to come forward and indicate that, okay, well, yeah, we give some explanation as to how the Russian nerve gas found its way in London.
Really?
Yeah. Vladimir didn't have any explanation and said, I think you say?
Da. You said yes?
Is that yes?
That's
or no?
yes.
Oh, what's no?
Yet.
Yet.
You stress the N on the front. Yet.
Yet.
There you go. Did she think that would work?
Yes, she did, Vladimir. We thought you.
That's funny.
That is
funny. I get tickles. Like as if you have feather and you are manipulating.
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
You get tickled like your
I'm tickled.
Like your throat right now.
I wish people could see you. You actually have a bald head. He's wearing this bald skull cap, partially bald, because Vladimir has this receding hairline.
You call them fighting bears.
I'm sure it is. They scratch you on the head.
Yes. That's how you know they like you.
I don't know why you have to become the character.
Well, would you rather something get done halfway or all the way?
Well,
I'll give you an example.
Do you have to put the trench coat on? The trench coat and be the KGB guy?
Well, it's cold now, but in winter, summer months come, I will have no shirt.
I wish you could see this guy.
At all.
He has his little props over there. He puts them on.
A buck knife. My waist.
A buck knife?
Buck knife. I don't need guns.
Let me guess. Under that trench coat, you have a bare chest, right? Don't open it.
Yes.
Don't open it. Don't look, Whitlock.
B-A-R-E. not.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you fight
He's
that.
different.
What? You only 4 foot what? 7, 8?
I am 5'8" tall.
Yeah, right. Sure you are.
I am.
No, you're not.
I am 5'8"
Well, how many? What? 5-inch heels?
I am 5'8" tall.
Yeah, you're gonna be that. I know. That's your story, and you're sticking to it.
Are you sad about my friend Rex Tillerson being fired? I am.
Oh, you are?
I am.
Surely.
He's a good friend. We know each other since '90.
And you used him up, right?
Well, I wouldn't say that. I would say I used him well.
I'm more sad about the fact that your Manchurian is sitting there in the White House. I can tell you that.
What are you speaking about? I
You
don't
know exactly what I'm speaking about.
I don't know what you're talking
Your boy.
about. My boy?
You're the boy who was at the Moscow Ritz-Carlton, the one that you sent 5 prostitutes to?
Oh, Yappy Dog. Oh, you speak of Yappy Dog. I thought you spoke of human person. No, you talk of Yappy Dog, I see.
Yappy Dog, that's what
yeah.
you call Donald Trump.
Well, Florida man.
He's
Yes, well, he serves purpose now, for now.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. You do that too well, comrade, I'm going to tell you. There was a bombing of a mosque in Minnesota. And they caught the guys. And one of the guys, ladies and gentlemen, had presented Donald John with an estimate on his bullet wall. You can't make this up, folks. He'd be that kind of guy. By the way, this is not a terrorist attack. You know why? Because it was a mosque. I mean, that's a contradiction. I mean, you don't have a terrorist attack on the mosque.
Yeah, they do the terror attacks. They don't have terror attacks done to them.
Absolutely. Statement from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Springfield, Illinois. By the way, you won't hear this on Oxy Conservative Talk Radio, none of this. You know why? Because you're being indoctrinated, to believe otherwise. But nevertheless, Springfield, Illinois says the men also were suspected in the attempted bombing of an abortion clinic. Let's just see who they are. Oxy Conservatives, one would figure. It happened August the 5th. We mentioned that, actually. We had played I would use a church bombing or mosque burning or temple burning or whichever religious house burning song. The attempted bombing of the women's clinic was in Champaign, Illinois. Actually, we had an affiliate there, but the mosque was in Minnesota. It was bombed just before morning, August the 5th. The men who were charged, 47-year-old Michael B. Harry. Sound Islamic? No. Sound Christian?
Was it Michael B. Harry?
No.
No.
It's Harry.
No.
He was described as he drafted a $10 billion plan to build a wall along the Mexican border, citing Donald John's call for such a wall. Harry drew up the proposal after launching a security company, Crisis Resolution Security Services. It's also suggested that Harry, with 2 accomplices, that he had promised him $18,000 if they helped him out. That's unconfirmed. The accomplices, Joe Morris, 22, and Michael McWhirter, or Wartar, 29, all 3 from Clarence, a little rural town of about 100 people there. They got a tip, the FBI, in December. Had led to authorities to investigate the men after the person who sent photographs of their guns and bomb makings there at Harry's parents' home. His parents' home? Man's 57 years old. He's living with his mama? I mean, look, all terrorists are losers. But nowhere in this statement, ladies and gentlemen, are they charged with terrorist attack. In January, the second informant told authorities that the 3 men had carried out the mosque bombing and failed clinic bombing. One of the men confessed. I know that some of you Oxy Conservatives want to know, I'm just making it up. It's got to be fake news. No. He confessed. The 3 of them rented a truck in Champaign, Illinois, drove 500 miles to Minnesota, and took their pipe bombs and broke in the window, and a passerby saw it or heard it, stopped, saw the dark truck leaving, and the rest, of course, is just simply good policing. The informant said that Harry had promised to pay him, McWhorton, $18,000 for participating in the mosque burning. So there you have it. They caught them, and so now they're being charged, and will be handled through the courts. More than likely, these weak-kneed individuals, upon getting locked up in an Illinois prison, particularly close to some individuals who don't look like them, and maybe even speak from the Holy Quran, they will be convinced to plead guilty as quickly as possible and hopefully be taken in protected custody or go to someplace in isolation or, but yet they're not terrorists, Ro.
Nope. They wear the white camouflage.
Well, at the very least, they have the appropriate camouflage. It can't be seen as that. All right. Is it? Oh, it's not time yet. There is a whistleblower. How about this? Coming, since we talked about the wall, a U.S. Immigration and Customs officer, San Francisco, quit. Why did he quit? Because, in his words, he's not going to go along with the fake news.
Wait, who's fake news?
Donald John's fake news.
Whoa.
Yeah. He quit his post. He's saying he refuses to promote fake news from the Trump administration about an immigration sweep in Northern California. James Schwab. He told the San Francisco Chronicle he quit in frustration last week after Attorney General Jeff Sessions and ICE Director Thomas Homer claimed more than 800 undocumented immigrants escaped arrest because Oakland Mayor Elizabeth Schwab warned of a possible crackdown hours before. Now, you heard this all over Oxy Conservative Talk Radio, I guarantee. Hannity boy, all of them, Becky boy, all of them. All the little indoctrinated millionaires. You heard it. You heard all of them probably say, oh yeah, the mayor of Oakland just let 800 people warn them and all of them escaped. They absconded. Well, this ICE immigration agent said, nah, that's not what happened. He said this, I'm quoting him. I told them that the information was wrong. They asked me to deflect, and I didn't agree with that. Schwab, who was hired in the Obama administration, told the Chronicle. Now, let me just guess. Oh, yeah, he's one of Obama's boys. Let me tell you, when we get to the point whereby somehow or another you start challenging the credibility of every law enforcement officer depending on who hired him, I'm going to tell you something. Don't tell me you support law enforcement. If you do, you need to put an asterisk by it. Can you have bad cops? Yeah, but here's a cop who just walked off the job. I said, no, that's not right.
Well, you don't want to lie.
The question is whether he was telling the truth. And guess what? He was telling the truth. It did not happen. The Oakland mayor did not warn 800 folks, and 800 folks leave San Francisco and Oakland.
That's fake news.
But you won't hear that. Just as you didn't hear the truth about Benghazi or the rest. By the way, the president's there, out in Cali right now, evaluating the walls that Americans are going to pay for instead of Mexico. Which brings me to this, ladies and gentlemen. There's a reason why what's going on is going on in Pennsylvania. Lamb could very well win this in a strongly held district that was Donald John's. Of course, the districts now is going to be changed thanks to the courts. Let me tell you what is happening here. It is not Republican or Democrat. Contrary to what you hear ad nauseum on Oxy Conservative Talk Radio and all of that, most of us don't give a care about Democrat or Republican. Most of us are independents. I've been that for quite some time. First president I voted for back in the 1970s was Richard Nixon. I wasn't a Republican. He just was going to stop the war in 1973. And I was number 37 on the lottery, ready for the draft. Made sense to me. And he did. By the way, everybody's due one mistake. I voted for George Herbert Walker Bush against Ronald Reagan in the primary.
Really?
I did.
Huh.
It was George Herbert Walker Bush who talked about voodoo economics, accused Reagan of it. And he became a victim of it after he...
just rebranded it.
After he won office. After he won office after Reagan, it was that made him stick his foot in his mouth for taxes. Reagan left a debt and a deficit that was too too much for this country to bear. And the Honorable George Herbert Walker Bush said, look, we got to raise taxes. We can't let the country go down the tubes because I promised, read my lips, the country was bigger than its promise. So now we're watching, all eyes on Pennsylvania. Lamb has claimed the victory. Still some absentee votes, they already know. It doesn't take that long to open up an envelope and read the votes, come on. I think that Lamb probably claimed victory because he knows just how many absentee voters that he sent out. There's about 3,000 of them or so.
One strategist is saying, and I quote, "No suburban district is safe, and every candidate better be ready for the most difficult cycle of their career," end quote.
So let me get this right. Carson did not know he had a $31,000 dining set?
No, honest mistake. You look at the zeros and you miss one, and that's just that happens often.
How do you make your skin turn a little darker like that? You really become these people.
Well, it's called chameleon acne, and you have to kind of
Just keep it. He slaps a little brown shoe polish on each cheek, and he stops being.
Not as light skinned as Putin, huh?
Well, I know you change it so quick, and get rid of your Adam's apple and everything. But you can keep that receding hairline. I notice your bald now is turning a little.
Little secret there.
So he didn't know.
No.
I don't doubt that.
You're right.
I bet he picked it out, though.
Of course he picked it out.
He picked it out, but he didn't look at the price.
Actually, I think Candy picked it out. I'm
His
pretty
wife?
sure Candy picked it out.
Candy, oh yes, that's it. Candy Carson selected the $31,000 set.
I don't.
But I don't doubt he has something like that in his house.
I don't pick out things. Candy picks out everything, including my socks.
She better do the right thing, or else he'll hit her with a hammer, like he did, like he did his mother. Orange County teacher shot herself. Well, hang on, we're going to take it to the streets when we come back.
It's about that time to get away. Make your reservations